Democratic Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty of Connecticut is in a little bit of trouble, and it has to do with her handling of an abuse case inside of her staff. The very top actually involves her chief of staff. And the inciting incident for this seems to have been a threatening email that her chief of staff sent, voicemail to an ex-girlfriend of his who also happened to be one of Esty's aides. The voicemail said this: "You better effing reply to me or I will effing kill you." I don't know what those words are because they're bleeped out inside of the graphic, but it sounds bad. And so in response to that, Kain, the aide, alerted the police, filed a report for felony threats, and obtained a 12-month restraining order against Baker. So Kain, understandably, jumped into action and did something about this. And she also alerted her employer. Kain said she provided detailed allegations that Baker had punched, berated, and sexually harassed her inside of Esty's Capitol Hill office throughout 2014 while she worked as Esty's senior advisor. And apparently though, while she jumped into action, Esty did not. And so Baker didn't actually end up leaving that office for 3 months. By his last day on August 12th, according to documents Esty provided to the Post, he and Esty had co-written a positive recommendation letter he could use in a job search and signed a legal document preventing her from disparaging him or discussing why he left. He then went to work for Sandy Hook Promise, which that's a weird connection to the modern discussion we're having right now and a little bit scary. He was dismissed from that group this week. So they responded more quickly than the Democratic Congresswoman did. By the way, Esty also admitted to the Connecticut Post that she arranged for a $5,000 severance for Baker upon his dismissal. And so he gets the severance, he gets a recommendation letter after violent threats and sexual harassment against one of her aides. That's a little scary. That was a chief of staff. This wasn't some random guy. I mean, this is a guy with power inside of her office. He had power over her aides and employees. And despite the obvious show that he could not be given that sort of he couldn't be trusted with that sort of responsibility, Esty really dragged her heels on doing something about it.
It's so normalized everywhere in every industry, and it shows you that even when you have a female employer, if a male counterpart is threatening you, harassing you, stalking you, they're still not going to take it seriously because it's so rampant and so normalized. I mean, we're talking about a person who sent this person off with gifts. A recommendation letter after he threatened to kill her and actually beat her multiple times. So again, going back to the mass shooting discussion, domestic violence, threats, stalking women, shared characteristics between violent men who should not be employed, especially in the government.
Yeah, like Rob Porter.
Yeah, and for Democratic members of Congress, I mean, like if you heard this coming out of like a Republican's office, you'd be like, oh, maybe he's a wife beater too, and that's like what they talk about on in their locker room conversations is how to beat their wives. But like, this is a female Democratic woman of Congress, member of Congress, who needs to like be taking the lead on setting the example of how you deal with these kind of issues. And like, I think that if somebody makes an accusation, there is a time period where it should be investigated. There should be some kind of official record. It shouldn't just be lob an accusation, get your boss fired. But when there's a restraining order, it means somebody looked at the facts of the matter and said, okay, there's a legitimate concern for the safety of this person.
There was a voicemail.
And especially if she heard the voicemail, I'd be like,
she told her that she was getting beaten. It's not even that, okay, I'm in the relationship with the person, I've been getting beat. And threatened by this man. I mean, I just can't imagine.
And there shouldn't be like then a parachute, like he got $5,000 to go away.
Here's a little gift for you. Good luck, sir.
And like we won't use this against you. It is insane. You know, I mean, it's really crazy how little we take this seriously in this country. I mean, it's like the violent trauma that's inflicted on people, like men and women in relationships. It, like you said, leads to other things, and especially when it's in a workplace environment, like it should be. You know, and I think she's a progressive member of Congress.
Yeah, and she's sponsored a gun bill, in fact. She's been on TV a lot. I think she's a decent congresswoman, but she screwed up. That was. There's no justification for that. But moving forward, wanted to let people know, and there were 21 female members of Congress or senators that came out saying, "Hey, HR 4822, which is the Congressional Accountability Act, it passed the House of Representatives, and it says that members of Congress they have to pay out of their own pocket for sexual harassment lawsuits and a whole bunch of other things, and streamlines the reporting. That passed the House of Representatives. It is sitting in the United States Senate. If you want to do something, contact your senator and say, co-sponsor and get HR 4822 passed.
Yeah, and it's at one point, just like a week or two ago, it was in as an amendment in a version of the spending bill, and it was unfortunately taken out near the last minute. This seems, I mean, if you can't even pass this, like the fact that our elected representatives, when they have all of these sexual harassment and sexual abuse scandals, still can't take it seriously. When they are being gunned down in the Capitol, they can't take guns seriously. They won't even protect themselves, let alone us. It's a level of cowardice and apathy that even for me, like I have to, for my job, I have to pay attention to the news. I'm still shocked that they are so unwilling to do literally anything to protect themselves and their employees. These are the people they spend all of their time with, and they won't do anything. And one of the things that actually scares me is, I'm very glad that we're in this moment where, thanks in large part to the Parkland students, we're taking the gun threat very seriously, and we're staying on that topic and we're dealing with it, and that is great. We're also, as a country and in the media, very bad at juggling a lot of things at the same time. And we had a period of several months where people were taking sexual harassment and sexual assault and rape very seriously. And the campaigns behind the scenes are still operating. Obviously, the legal funds that are raising money to defend women and things like that. But it's not something that I'm seeing in the news every day. And it's entirely possible that some of these sorts of scandals, which were coming up in large part because of the added spotlight, now we won't see anything about them. And some of them will go back into the shadows, and I'm worried about that.
Can you imagine Trump signing this bill?
Oh my
God. It actually goes to the Oval.
Oh my God.
They were worried. They were worried if they put it in the spending bill that he would veto it. They were actually worried that this would be the thing that he would veto it over.
We need to stop throwing things in spending bills and trying to shut down Congress based on like DACA or this. I mean, let's put this forward.
Absolutely.
No, let's put this on the spending bill.
But this is the thing, is it's not going to work.
But let him veto it over the sexual harassment clause for Congress. I would love it. Like, please, like if they're going to destroy everything, you might as well like destroy some good ideas like straight out in public. You know what I mean? Like the reason I'm going to stop the government is so that your member of Congress can continue to sexually harass and their staff without any accountability, and the taxpayers, you will have to pay for it if there's any lawsuits of that. That's why we're going to shut down the government, to defend the freedom to sexually harass.
There needs to be accountability, within Congress.
But there is a day of reckoning. We get a chance to throw out all 435 members of the House of Representatives on November 6th and a third of the Senate.
Yeah, a lot of them are asking for it.
There is a revolution every 2 years in the United States created by the founding fathers. It's called an election.
If you want to get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
I'm like a smart person.
Or you might say,
I think it's weird.
Or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.